144 tons of drugs have been seized, including nearly a ton and a half, and more than 2 million fent pills. Tons of drugs found in the Fugitive's music club. After the death of the Fugitive's music group, without motive, without reason, and with more questions than answers, the HARFUCH National Police set out to investigate their former music club. However, what he found left him speechless. The brutal murder of the Fugitive group became one of the most scandalous discoveries of the year. In a surprise operation led by the Ministry of Security, federal agents under the command of Secretary Margarita HARFUCH inspected the music club belonging to the group, located on the outskirts of Nalado. What they found there not only confirmed the investigators' worst fears, but also shook the foundations of a criminal organization that seemed untouchable. Tons of drugs perfectly camouflaged in guitars, hidden compartments, false walls, and a network of underground hatches worthy of a spy novel. The search, carried out in complete secrecy during the early hours of Tuesday morning, took place in a seemingly harmless building. At first glance, the place was a music hall decorated with images of traditional norteño music. Boots hung on the walls, portraits of idols of the old guard, desserts on the smiling faces of the 5 members of the Fugitive group. A rusty banner still hung at the entrance with the name of the establishment, Club La Trapa. No one would have imagined what lay behind it. The agents, accompanied by forensic experts, canine units, and an elite tactical team, entered the area following a warrant signed by the Attorney General's office, motivated by new evidence linking the site to CJ&G operations. For the first few minutes, they found nothing irregular. Musical instruments, sound equipment, and boxes of promotional materials filled the rooms. But everything changed when one of the trained dogs stopped in front of a seemingly empty accordion case and began barking incessantly. Upon opening it, what appeared to be just an unused instrument turned out to be filled with vacuum-sealed bags of a white substance. Rapid tests confirmed high-purity cocaine, more than 5 kilograms hidden in that compartment alone. That was the signal. The agents began a more thorough search. They soon found more cases. More guitars, hollow bodies, basses with modified cavities, and removable drums, each hidden with surgical precision, packages wrapped in industrial tape and marked with alphanumeric codes. The number began to grow alarmingly. In less than 2 hours, the experts had already counted more than 1.5 tons of various illegal substances, including cocaine, methamphetamines, fentanyl pills, and processed marijuana. But that wasn't the most disturbing thing. On a wall behind what appeared to be a DJ booth, the officers detected an irregularity in the cladding. Upon removing it, they discovered a hatch with an electromagnetic lock. Upon opening it, they found a narrow passageway with metal stairs descending. What lay below astounded the team. An underground room measuring approximately 15 square meters, completely sealed, with walls covered in thermal aluminum foil, a ventilation system, and shelves filled with numbered packages. Inside the bunker were more than 2 additional tons of drugs, already classified and ready for distribution. Tactical vests with CG&G logos, fake uniforms from parcel delivery companies, and false documentation were also found. In one corner, a safe protected hard drives, several satellite phones, and a handwritten notebook with a list of names, amounts, and dates, presumably the accounting records of the transactions carried out there. But that wasn't all. Behind A, false warehouse wall A, second hatch was found leading to A, tunnel that extended in a straight line for more than 100 meters, connecting to a vacant lot on the outskirts of town. The tunnel had a lighting system, improvised rails, and recent traffic markings. According to the authorities, everything indicates that it was used as an escape route or a direct transport for illegal merchandise, bypassing the front of the club. HARFUCH, upon being informed of the discovery, decided to personally go to the area. A few hours later, he arrived by helicopter, accompanied by the prosecutor specializing in organized crime, 3 operational leaders, and tactical intelligence personnel. When he stepped out of the aircraft, his face was a perfect blend of fury, disappointment, and determination. This wasn't a music club. It was a front, a criminal operation disguised as culture. They used us all, to the press, to the fans, to the state. But here the silence is over, Harf declared before a small group of media. But why did they have all this amount of narcotics? What was the cause? The death of the 5 members of the Fugitive group, which was initially assumed to be a high-impact crime against seemingly innocent young musicians, has led to a complex investigation that now points to possible links to organized crime. This was confirmed this Thursday by official sources from the Ministry of Security, headed by Omar Garcia Garfuch, who indicated that the recent discovery of tons of drugs in the music club belonging to the group Enabolado could be the key link to understanding the motive for their murder. Investigators have made it clear that while it has not yet been possible to precisely determine which criminal organization was behind the operation, the volume of drugs found, exceeding 3 tons, and the sophistication with which they were hidden leave no doubt that this was a structured and functional drug trafficking operation. This is evidence that cannot be ignored or minimized. A musical group does not accumulate this amount of drugs by accident, nor does it hide it inside guitars out of simple naivete. There was a network operating here. The question is, who were they working for and why were they killed? Harf stated in brief statements after a security meeting held in Sinaloa. The La Tropa Club, owned by the group, became the epicenter of a massive operation this week that unearthed more than 3 tons of drugs distributed among musical instrument cases, false walls, and underground tunnels. Authorities indicated that, in addition to the drugs, they also found fake uniforms from transportation companies, monitoring systems, and accounting documents with encrypted lists alluding to routes, dates, and quantities. While some names found in the notebooks match known aliases in the criminal world, it has not been definitively established whether the young men worked for the Jalisco Nueva Generation cartel, the CJNG, the Sinaloa cartel, or some local autonomous cell. What we have is a narco-artistic structure operating silently in a group that has been professionally murdered. This suggests betrayal, settling of scores, or loss of control within an illegal agreement. But we still can't say which cartel they belong to, said an intelligence commander involved in the case. One of the elements that most disconcerts investigators is the fact that, until now, no complaints have been filed against the music club or the group itself. The facade was so constructed that, if it weren't for the disappearance and death of its members, this operation could have continued operating for years without detection, said an officer in the specialized organized crime unit. According to the information collected, the club operated with regular musical events on weekends, while during the week, deliveries were made that appeared to be shipments of sound equipment or promotional merchandise. Security cameras in the area revealed a constant flow of unmarked vans, several of them linked to homes that are now being searched. Meanwhile, forensic analysis continues. After the autopsy of the bodies, traces of drugs were found in the digestive systems of 2 of the musicians, suggesting that they may have participated as human mules at some point. Substances were also detected on their clothing and microscopic fragments in their personal backpacks. Harf, being when questioned about these findings, he was cautious but firm. This isn't about stigmatizing the dead, but rather about understanding what happened. The facts speak for themselves. No one is buried with this level of violence unless there's something deeper going on. We want to know who used them, who betrayed them, and why they were allowed to operate for so long. One of the most delicate lines of investigation is the possibility that the musicians began collaborating with a criminal group and then tried to switch sides or become independent. This hypothesis, shared by 2 federal agents, is supported by messages recovered from one of the cell phones that read phrases like, "We no longer want to owe anyone anything, and this can be done on our own." Investigators are also considering another possibility, that the group may have made a logistical error or misplaced an important shipment, which would have triggered reprisals. Records found contain vague mentions of a lost assignment and a failed meeting in San Fernando. So far, it has not been possible to confirm whether these events are directly related to his execution, but the pattern is consistent with punishment methods used by criminal cells in other regions of the country. What is clear is that the execution was planned, targeted, and executed with precision. The 5 members were found with signs of torture, but without excessive or disorganized violence. There were no visible traces at the discovery site, suggesting that they were murdered elsewhere and subsequently moved. For forensic experts, this indicates the involvement of professionals, not improvised individuals. But how did this group begin? How did they become so famous? The story of the Fugitives began in a small neighborhood in Riosa, on the outskirts of a city where dreams are not measured in square meters, but in songs shared with friends in dusty courtyards. Francisco Xavier, known as El Pancho to his neighbors, had been singing since he was a child. His raspy voice, born of long nights and lungs hardened by work in the streets, had no formal training, but it did have an emotional power that made even the toughest people in the neighborhood fall silent when they heard him sing a ballad. He was the heart of the group who brought the rest together. Nemesio Antonio Duran, the tuba player, was different, more dashing, more disciplined. His family came from a musical tradition. He learned to play the tuba in a school band, but he abandoned it when he had to work as a bricklayer to help out at home. It was Pancho who convinced him to return. He promised him that one day the tuba would not be played in school marches, but at mass dances. "You'll see how we're going to fill fairs, bro," he told him. Victor Manuel Garza, the requintista, and Jose Francisco Morales, the guitarist, had been inseparable since high school. Both had tried to join other local groups, but had never had the opportunity to play their own repertoire. When Pancho called them, they didn't think twice. "This time we're serious," he told them. "We're going to play what we feel, not what they ask us to." Levon Solis appeared later. He didn't know how to play a maraca, but he had something they didn't: business acumen. He had worked in events, had contacts with palenques, and a special nose for finding opportunities. When he heard them play for the first time at a birthday party in the Benito Juarez neighborhood, he knew there was gold. Not in the production, not in the style, but in the honesty of their lyrics and the hunger. For those five boys proposed that they represent them and put together a basic strategy: weekly rehearsals, home recordings, and tours of towns where no one else wanted to go. That's how the Fugitives were formally born. The name was Francisco's idea, because here we're all escaping from something. From the bricklayer's job, from routine, from bad memories, from poverty. "We're all fugitives, but with a guitar in our hands," he once said in a radio interview. During the first few years, they played wherever they could. Neighborhood fairs, school events, weddings, baptisms, even cockfights. Their payment was sometimes cash, other times food, and more than once, nothing at all. But every night they played as if they were in front of thousands. Their style was raw, real. They didn't seek musical virtuosity, but rather an emotional connection, and little by little, that began to resonate. Their first regional hit was Las Calles No Lloran, a song Francisco wrote after learning that his cousin had been murdered in a bar fight. The lyrics spoke of what the news doesn't tell them, of the silence that remains in neighborhoods when someone leaves, of the normalization of violence, of the void left behind by a friend who never returns. The song was recorded with a single borrowed microphone in the bartender's room, uploaded to Facebook, and exploded. Suddenly, the Fugitives were no longer just a local group. Homemade videos of their performances began to go viral. Their second song, Mi Padre Sin Nombre, struck a chord with thousands of people who had grown up without a father figure. The cell phone clip reached more than 1 million views in less than a month. From then on, invitations began to pour in. They played in Monterrey, Torreon, and San Luis Potosí. Every time they were received with surprise. No one understood how a group, without a record label, without marketing or production, could fill entire plazas. The answer was in the audience. They loved them because they felt close to them, because their songs spoke of realities that didn't fit in television commercials. Levon Solis understood that the phenomenon had to be contained before it got out of control. He proposed recording a full album. They titled it Pies Polvosos, Corazón de Fierro, Dusty Feet, Iron Heart, and recorded it in a studio in Matamoros with their earnings from touring. 12 songs, no manufactured hits, just stories of mothers working in maquilas, of young people crossing the river in search of the American dream, of betrayals of love and loyalties that can't be broken even by bullets. The album was an unprecedented success for a group without commercial support. It was sold on USB drives at street markets and pirated in the market without any protest. Let them listen to it, even if they don't pay for it, said Francisco. We also grew up listening to pirated albums. The important thing is, let the people feel it. But with fame also came shadows. Some businessmen began offering sums far above the norm for them to play at private ranches. They didn't ask for an invoice. They didn't sign a contract. They just wanted them to sing and not ask any questions. At first, they accepted out of necessity, then out of habit. In those circles, they began to mingle with shady figures. But even so, the fugitives stayed away from scandals, avoiding getting into disputes, believing that if they played and left, nothing bad would happen. Their faces even appeared in local magazines, on digital covers, on TikTok. They were imitated, they were honored. The country recognized them as a band that had grown from the ground up, without shortcuts or favors. Their humility was their shield, their music their weapon. In 2022, a radio station in the Baguio region honored them as Breakthrough Band of the Year. They didn't attend the ceremony because they were playing in a community in Veracruz that didn't even have stable electricity, but there were more than 1,000 people waiting to hear them. In a video from that day, Francisco says with a smile, "Our thing isn't about winning awards. Our thing is about not letting down the people." 2023 marked their peak. Constant tours, steady income, and even the start of construction of their own music club in Nabalado, a space that would combine music, socializing, and popular culture. They wanted to leave something for those who came after them. They wanted to prove that it was possible. No one imagined that months later their story would end amidst graves, drugs, and rumors. No one knew the exact moment they crossed the line, whether it was out of necessity, pressure, ambition, or mistake. What is clear is that before their fall, the fugitives were already part of the musical soul of northern Mexico. What will happen now with this case? Will the truth be revealed? The discovery of the club and its contents has sent shockwaves through the cultural sectors of Sinaloa, Tamaulipas, and other states where norteño music coexists, often in silence, with drug interests. Renowned groups have begun to issue statements disassociating themselves from any connection with organized crime. Others have canceled performances in areas considered at risk. From the Ministry of Security, HARFUCH stated that a parallel investigation will be opened into the use of the music industry as a logistical platform for drug trafficking and did not rule out audits of promoters, recording studios, transportation companies, and even digital platforms. We can no longer accept that crime disguises itself as culture. Today, it was a fugitive group. Tomorrow, it could be another gang. And if we don't break this network, young people will continue to fall prey without anyone ever knowing why, the secretary declared. The social impact of the case has also left a mark on the community. In Abelardo, many residents of the club claim to be unaware of the illegal activities, although some admitted that a lot of unusual activity was observed. An employee who requested anonymity said he had been hired only to clean the stage, but that he occasionally saw armed men arrive who didn't seem to be part of the show. For their part, the musicians' families have decided to remain aloof from the new revelations. None have issued any statements following the discovery at the club. According to sources close to the scene, they are in a state of shock after learning that what they always believed to be an artistic dream was actually a dangerous facade that led to their deaths. And so we come to the end of this video. If you liked it, I invite you to give us a like so we can continue making more videos like this one. Also, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. I wish you a great day. See you next time.